Well then, here we are on the last day of the first ever Molly Samvad, the first ever National Sports Vision Conclave, and also the last session of this historic association between intellectuality and sport at the national games level. And we couldn't have asked for a better, more insightful and a more blockbuster session and a more eminent guest who's been doing God's work in the sports ecosystem since he decided to hang up his boots as a player and captain in Indian hockey. Without further ado, let me call on stage Shri Viren Raskina, former India men's hockey captain, Olympian Arjuna awardee and CEO of Olympic Gold Quest. A big and warm welcome to Viren. मौली संवाद के आखिरी सेशन में श्री वीरेन रास्कीना बात करेंगे how to build a 360-degree athlete from game to growth, shaping athletes' futures on and off the field. And joining him on the stage will be his host for this fireside chat, and it's going to be none other than our very own, the veteran sports media professional, Shri G. Rajaraman, who is also the IOA press attaché. A big warm welcome to Shri Rajaraman. तालियों के साथ प्लीज स्वागत कीजिए वीरेन और राज का. बात करेंगे हम लोग how to build the 360-degree athlete in today's day and age. And before I pass on the mic to Raj, I also would like to extend a warm welcome to all the young women I see here at the Maharana Pratap Sports College Complex. We are so glad to have you here in what is going to be the last session of the first ever historic Molly Samvad National Sports Vision Conclave. Over to you, Raj and Viren. What a way to end this. So we are looking forward to you enlightening us with lots of anecdotes from your personal lives and of course everything that you're doing to grow our Indian sports ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Shanisha, as always, for having done those introductions. Before I get to Viren, may I also introduce to all of you another former India captain, Abhijit. Can you please stand up, please? Abhijit used to play volleyball. He does some fabulous work at the grassroots level. Thank you so much, Abhijit. Phenomenal to know that he does some outstanding work in Assam with volleyball, and that's a great point to start with, Viren. When we're saying 360-degree growth of athletes, take us through your own journey. Start with the young boy who picked up a hockey stick or maybe played football to begin with. I don't know what you did. Let us know the journey from there to where you are today.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Rajaraman sir, for inviting me over here. It's lovely to be over here. Growing up, I grew up in a small suburb called Bandra in Mumbai, and actually Bandra had a culture of kids playing football and hockey. This was in the 80s and 90s when things were a bit different, and my family was a very conservative, regular middle-class family. No one played competitive sport, but it was a very sports-loving family. And mom was a doctor, dad was an engineer. Back in the 80s, 90s, parents were very strict with their kids, and you had to become either a doctor or an engineer to be regarded as a success. And my eldest brother became an engineer. He had no choice. My parents were very strict with him. They were medium strict with the second brother. He was a very good football player, played at a very high level. He himself also became an engineer. And I was the third and lucky one, because by the time I came along, my parents were not bothered at all. And that's how I could get to play hockey. But I was also very lucky because my school was one of the old Jesuit schools. We were lucky enough to have big playgrounds. But also the coach of my school was a gentleman by the name of Marcellus Gomes. You will know Marcellus Gomes. He represented India in hockey at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. And I was very lucky that from the age of 10 years old, Marcellus Gomes was the person who taught me, I would say, not just the technical skills in hockey, but also so many life skills like teamwork and communication and resilience and never give up and to be disciplined. And I think if it wasn't for me having such a good coach when I was 10 years old, I don't think I would have ever played for the country. So I think like how a maths teacher and a science teacher is very important to teach you the basics, I think the coach, when talented kids are 10, 11, 12 years old, that is one of the most important things. And I always emphasize for parents who want to put their kids in sport, just make sure you find a good coach in whichever sport you play. And I think a coach can change lives.
Marcellus Zindabad. Yeah, because schools having Olympians as coaches practically unheard of these days. Olympians want to coach at the highest level. You just finished your playing career, you want to become a coach and you want to coach elite teams. Marcellus has actually set a great example. But when we are talking about building a 360-degree athlete, tell me a bit about how important was education in your own life, Viren, because sometimes you get the feeling when you watch Indians and when you interact with international athletes, you get the feeling that Indians are perhaps a little hesitant, a little shy, a little reserved because they don't complete their education, their formal education. Just want to know from you, how important was education in your own life? जिनको नहीं मालूम मैं बता दूं, वीरेन ने जब खेलना बंद किया, he knew what he wanted to do and he did his MBA. हैदराबाद का एक बहुत ही बड़ा मशहूर कॉलेज है, इंडियन स्कूल ऑफ बिजनेस. इन्होंने तय किया कि मैं बिजनेस मैनेजमेंट करूंगा और वहाँ से निकलते ही गॉट इनटू ओलंपिक गोल्ड क्वायर. बट हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट वाज एजुकेशन इन योर ओन लाइफ, वीरेन?
Yeah, I think, like I said, given the background that I came from, education was always important to me. I was actually good at my studies in SSC. I was in the Mumbai merit list as well, so I scored really well in my SSC. But I also wanted to play always. And I think, you know, the irony in life was that at 15 years old, when I came on the Mumbai SSC merit list, everyone wanted me to study and I wanted to play. And when I was 27 years old, I retired from the Indian hockey team at a young age. That time everyone wanted me to play and I wanted to study. So, yeah, but for me, studies have always been important. And I just think that it's a myth among many parents especially, that if you play, you cannot study. I think you can do both. It's about managing your time effectively. It's about making little sacrifices. But honestly, I never even saw it as a sacrifice. And I wanted to play, but I also wanted to study. But for me, I didn't see it as a sacrifice because it was a choice. I wanted to do that. No one put a gun to my head saying that you have to. I wanted to do both, and I wanted to do both well. So I guess my sacrifice, in a way, if you looked at it, was maybe I didn't hang out with my friends so much when I was young or in school or in college, or I didn't go out for parties, late nights. That was not my thing as such. I wanted to play well and I wanted to study well. I wanted to do both well, and I never saw it as a sacrifice. So, and I also just think that if you, you know, many a time, you have seen sport for so many years, sir, and when we see young kids, sometimes we feel Indian athletes lack confidence. And I don't think that confidence or self-belief will come from you or me or Geet Sethi or Prakash Padukone or Vishwanathan Anand telling young kids to believe in yourself or have confidence, have self-belief. I think confidence comes from solid preparation in what you do. Be it studies or be it sport. You'll be confident in the exams if you studied well. You'll be confident in playing if you actually trained well and prepared well and train at the right quality and train at the right intensity. So I think we have to encourage our young athletes that just training is not enough. You got to go back. What do most athletes at elite level do? And Abhijit is here. Abhijit and me have been in the India camps in many sports for many years. I know young athletes from their junior camp days will train for 3 hours in the morning. They'll come back, have breakfast and go to sleep. And get up for lunch, have lunch, go to sleep. Get up in the evening, another 3 hours of training, and that's their day. I would actually encourage kids to read the newspapers, follow what's happening, ask questions, learn about stuff, go out of your comfort zone. I think the important part about sport or what you do in life is don't get too comfortable. Be comfortable with being out of your comfort zone. And I think, and always ask questions of what you don't know. And I think that's an important part. I want to tell a story of, in the early 2000s, India and Germany were playing a test series.
Hockey.
In hockey, so yeah, in hockey. And we were traveling from city to city in flights. The Indian team, German team was traveling together. The German captain, I see on flights, was actually was on his laptop on all the flights, on his airport, and he was one of the best players in the world. And I asked him, what are you doing? I'm seeing you on your laptop all the time. He was a doctor by profession, and he was studying for his MD. He's studying for his masters, and it was incredible. Here he was playing in the middle of an India-Germany test series, tough matches, tiring, you're tired, traveling from venue to venue. And in between at the airports on the flight, he was studying for his exam. And it's about how much you want to do it, and then actually go and get the job done. I feel here that we give too many excuses, that we're too tired, this is too tough, we don't want to do it. But I think I would just encourage every young student, every person who wants to play, that you can do whatever you want in life if you actually put your heart and soul and mind to it, if you're in the right environment, if you're in an environment conducive to excellence. I think you can do whatever, and just learning knowledge and learning and reading gives you so much more confidence in life.
Thank you, Viren. One word that you mentioned a short while ago is stuck. It's been working on my mind for some time. You spoke about learning teamwork when you played hockey. You also learned leadership. You were captain. Now, there seems to be a conflict between these two words. To the outside world, it does look like leadership is being selfish and being, मेरे को captain बनना है. Teamwork is about team को जिताना है, goal करना है, goal रोकना है. So, just explain to me your learnings on leadership and teamwork from your own experience as a hockey player for a good part of a decade and more.
I think I was very lucky that I was part of a team sport. I've always loved being part of a team environment. I hate training alone. I hate doing fitness alone. I hate going to the gym alone. I hate doing anything alone. But if there are people around me, if there's a team, I love it. So, you know, when I was part of the Indian team in training camp, hockey players have to run a lot. But if there's 30 of us running together, it never tired me. But if I have to run alone for 5 minutes, it's very hard for me. So I love being part of a team. And for me, the team always comes first. Teamwork before leadership, any day of the week, twice on Sunday. And I think part of what's important for a team is creating the right environment where you realize that everyone in a team has a role to play. So if it's Abhijit's game of volleyball, if it's my game in hockey, if you look at cricket, in a team, all 11 can't be batsmen, all 11 can't be bowlers, all bowlers can't be fast bowlers. You will always have a mix of different skill sets. In hockey, you'll have the goalkeeper, defenders, midfielders, forward line. With rolling substitution, everyone has a role to play, and everyone's role is important in a team. And we have to realize that none of us in life, when you all get out of school, will work in isolation. You all will all work in a team environment. And recognizing and respecting everyone in your team, knowing that everyone's role is important, these are very critical things. Creating an environment in the team that is conducive to excellence. Trust within the team is critical. In hockey, we generally don't pass to the player. You pass in the open space and you trust that your player will be there. everything happens in split seconds. You don't have time to think. You train for it, that you trust that your team will be there. If I'm a defender and I go on top and I'm caught out of position, you trust that a teammate will come and cover for you. And you cover for each other's mistakes. You help each other during the tough time. So I think teamwork is very important. I think leadership comes as the next important thing, and my style of leadership was always to get the team together. And if there are a couple of things I learned on leadership when I was captain of the Indian hockey team is, sometimes as a leader, you have to praise your players and sometimes you have to admonish them. Whatever you do, whether praising or admonishing, one of my learnings was keep it short, because players are very smart. They know immediately, especially when they've played badly. You don't need to go on and on and on and pointing on one mistake 10 times. And similarly, praising, don't praise too much, because sometimes it tends to go to their head and they forget to keep their feet on the ground. Also, I would say one of my learnings was, when you're praising, praise in front of the team. When you're admonishing, sometimes have a quiet but firm word at the side or at the corner where the entire team does not need to know. But if you manage it, I think teamwork and leadership can be beautifully smooth. Sometimes there can be conflict. Sometimes you got to take hard decisions. Sometimes you got to be the bad guy. But as long as you know that what you're doing is with good intentions and you're not getting personal on any side, I think both can work very smoothly with each other.
Thank you, Viren. Complete masterclass in teamwork and leadership. आप लोगों को ये लाइफ में यूज हो सकता है, not just in the field of sport, in whatever walk of life that you set out to do. आगे बढ़ के जो भी आप करेंगी, where you're working with a team, what Viren just told us about trust will help you in your life. It is not just for sport, and that is, I think, the beautiful part of Mauli Samvad, that sport can be such a beautiful teacher. The lessons we learn from sport can be used in normal life. You could be a scientist, you could be an engineer, you could be a lawyer, but you still need to have trust in your teammates, and that's how you emerge as leaders as well. Thank you very much for that, Viren. We'll get down to the specifics of building a 360-degree athlete. What are some elements that you think are essential into the development of an athlete in a holistic perspective? You just don't want people who are playing sport. You also want them to protect their monies, their wealth, whatever money they are making, not to fritter it away. You want them to be great citizens of the country as well. So what are some things that go into in establishing a 360-degree athlete?
I think first and foremost, as athletes, athletes have to be very responsible and take ownership. So when I say responsibility and ownership, I mean about everything you do that's within your control. So as athletes, what is within your control and what is not in my control? What is within my control is that as an athlete, I train well, I put in full 100% effort in every training session, I rest well, I sleep early, I have the right nutrition. These are things that are in my control. What are out of my control? Sometimes there might be an equipment failure, sometimes it's very hot during a match, sometimes it's freezing cold during a match, sometimes it's raining, my stick is slippery, it's tough to play during those conditions. Those are all out of my control. Sometimes we are playing in Lahore, in 50,000, there are 50,000 people in the stadium and all booing us. That's out of my control. I think a big thing for an athlete is to make sure to keep things simple. Whatever is in your control, do it really well, and you have to take ownership and responsibility for that. Once you step across the white line, the coach cannot hold your hand. Your parents sitting in the stand cannot hold your hand. You are responsible for what happens, whether it is a training session or whether it is the match. I think I would also, there is so much to learn in life outside sport for me. And in terms of, like I said, learning about how to be good ambassadors of sport. I think sports persons are the greatest ambassadors of the nation, and how we conduct ourselves both on and off the field. I think there are no better role models than athletes. And if I look at some athletes, like I've had the privilege of playing alongside legends like Dhanraj Pillai, Dilip Tirkey. I've had, through OGQ, I've worked with legends like Mirabai Chanu, Mary Kom, Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu. And these are lovely people, not just on the pitch or on the court or on the field or on the ring, but outside as well. And these are people who really inspire kids in what they do outside the field as well. Because so many millions of kids look up to athletes, and it's very critical that I think athletes everywhere become role models in what they do. And this might also involve, I think, the basics of I think financial planning is, like you mentioned, is a critical thing for athletes. And sometimes I'm, what do you say, the education system, I feel, needs to get so much better for not just regular athletes, but even athletes who are very serious about pursuing sport. And there are so many things, for example, negotiation skills in life. I wish negotiation is taught in school. I wish understanding banking transactions, understanding investments, understanding financial planning, understanding things like insurance is taught in school. And I would just encourage every single student, whether you're in school, whether you're in college, to take calculated risks in life and back yourself. Gaining knowledge is something that will always help you at some time in my life. I think, after I finished playing for the Indian hockey team, so I graduated in commerce, and then for 9 years I didn't get time to study because I was playing, training, traveling with the Indian hockey team. And then after I retired from the Indian team, I went to do my MBA. In Indian School of Business, ISB Hyderabad. For me, that was one of the biggest learning, and I would say one of the best transition years of my life, because I was literally thrown in the deep end, and there were so many subjects that I had to learn that were totally out of my comfort zone. But you also realize when I went there that everyone was out of their comfort zone. Everyone was coming, they were in jobs or working for 5-6 years, they had a lot of work experience. And when I went to my MBA, I realized that one of the biggest learnings was not actually in the classroom, but from my peers. And for example, so in ISB, I was staying in the campus with 4 of my, what they call as squaddies, in accommodation on campus. So one was an entrepreneur. He ran a hotel and a printing business. One was a techie, hardcore tech guy. He used to work in Infosys. And one guy was a salesman. He used to be head of sales at Otis Elevators. And I was a sports person. And I think the biggest learning for me during the year was actually our chats every night during dinner, where we exchange notes, exchange stories about life, about our learnings, about our failures. And actually, when you lose in life, I feel the learnings from losing are much more than when we win. When you win, you don't tend to analyze. You tend to analyze much more when you lose. So I just think one of the greatest learnings in life for me as an athlete is actually for every time that I've lost. And actually in sport, you lose much more than you win in life.
Super. समझ आई आप लोगों को? We learn more from failure than from success. And it's true again in life. It's true in school, it's true in college, it's true at workplace, and it's true in sport. Actually, sport is, to me, one of the greatest teachers. And thank you for sharing this experience of yours from ISB. And thanks to the three of your friends, your roommates, who shared their experiences with you and shaped you into who you are. And we are able to hear these stories from you. Viren, I want to know, you've seen transition in Indian sport. You've been a player, you've been a junior player, then you graduated to being a senior player, moved on to being captain, stopped playing hockey, got into supporting athletes now. You've seen transition over 25, 30 years. I want to know from you, are we at the right space where we should be if you're aspiring to get double-digit Olympic Games medal? Are we in the right place as a sporting nation? Do you think we are ready to get to that double digit yet? Or were we already there in Paris? Should we have got double digit? Just asking you from a sports culture perspective.
Yeah, it's a tough question. First of all, I feel that Paris was a disappointment at the Olympics, because I felt India should have definitely got double-digit medals. We were well prepared enough. As you all know, India won 6 medals at Paris. There were 6 fourth-place finishes, and the margins are so fine between a 4th place and a medal, and definitely I felt this was the Olympic where India should have got at least 10 medals. For me, that should have been done. So for me, that was a big disappointment. By the way, I must say that in the Paris Paralympics, India won 29 medals this time. And there were so many athletes who actually in the Paralympics either did their personal best or season best, or beat an opponent they had never beaten before, under pressure in the same situations. I just feel that the grit and resilience of the para athletes were more than the Olympic athletes when it really mattered under pressure. And that's something to learn for them. And we should always take learning in the right spirit. That was there. I felt the preparations were very good. If you look at, I've been part of OGQ supporting athletes as a not-for-profit foundation. I've been part of the TOPS and MOC committee. I think this was the best cycle of support that Olympic athletes are given. Honestly, the government support, and I've been part of the system. I was in camps right from 2000. You cannot compare it from my time in early 2000s to now. The support has been, I would say, world class. There are very few things I can see that additionally can be given. What more could be given? Very, very few things. I felt the quality of support from the government, the speed of support from the government, the speed of sanctioning proposals was excellent. Mr. Sandeep Pradhan was the DG in the last cycle. I thought he did a wonderful job in leading the preparations. Sometimes, like Prakash Padukone got upset, in a way I think rightly so. Athletes also have to take a responsibility, of course. I think what can be done better for us overall is our governance. There are few federations which I feel are doing an excellent job. So if you look at governance, if you look at development of coaches, if you look at junior program, if you look at women in sport, I think all these areas there's definitely scope for improvement. I think, many people ask me what can be done better to improve India's Olympic medal tally. Sir, for me, it's not just one thing. It is a cumulative factor of 100 little things that go into building Olympic champions. So we have to get better in coaches, in training facilities, in equipment, in nutrition, in recovery, in endurance, in strength, in the quality of our sports science staff, in the quality of our governance, in the quality of our planning and preparation. If you look at even calendars of the various federations, we are not even able to get our annual calendar right. If the calendar is there, it's not implemented. So then budget planning becomes difficult. Tournament planning, sanctions are not happening for tournament. So we are much better. Let's say that we are much better than what we were at the time I was playing, but is there scope for improvement? I think there's plenty of scope for improvement.
Within my own experience, I think Leander Pace changed how we look at sport. In 1996, with that bronze medal of his, we had waited for 42 years to get a medal, an individual medal in the Olympic Games. Then we saw Malleshwari win that bronze medal, first woman to win a medal in the Olympic Games, first Indian to win, a woman to win a medal in the Olympic Games in the year 2000 in Sydney. Then Rajavardhan Rathore got the silver, so we were growing. And then Abhinav Bindra did something which we had not imagined, got a gold for India. And then some 12 years later, 11, 12 years later, this boy called Neeraj comes in and wins a gold in a very physical event. To me, the athlete has become fearless. This is the transition that I've seen as a journalist. I want to know your own experience, Viren. I'm looking at how Kapil Dev changed cricket in Indian cricket or Indian sport in 1983, he and his team. And then 96 Leander, 2008 Abhinav Bindra, 2021 Neeraj Chopra. And there is a belief that we can go out and win medal. Today, if you are disappointed that we had 6 medals and 6 people who finished 4th, 6 medals just went out of our grasp, it is because we believe we can do that. Some years ago, we were just happy to go to an Olympic game and mark our presence there. But today, I think our athletes have changed. Have I understood that right, or am I making a mistake somewhere, Viren?
Yeah. No, absolutely, sir. If you look at what is the one biggest factor that has changed in the last 1 or 2 decades in Indian sport from the time I played in the Olympics in 2004, it's actually been 20 years, to now, I think that biggest thing is the belief in young kids representing India. Today, Indian athletes go to the Olympics with the belief that they can win an Olympic medal. By the way, you all should know that India won 6 medals. We had 6 4th place finishes in the Olympics. There were 23 total athletes who actually came top 8 at the Olympics. And the difference between top 8 and the medal is very, very fine. So now what India has to do is learn how to convert these top 8 finishes into medals. And yes, for sure, I think, and like I said, the belief will not come from you and I telling young kids. The belief has to come from absolutely world-class preparation every single day in training. Because for me, every single training session is important. The quality, the intensity, the speed, the pace, the pressure we face. If we are able to replicate that kind of training environment for our athletes, I think you'll see a much bigger conversion in medals. I think very often, especially culturally in some sports, the quality of training is not good. And coaches play a big role in how important they get the intensity of training sessions.
Thank you, Viren. I'm going to wrap this up with just one question toward the end. I'm going to ask you, Viren, what is the single biggest learning you've got from sport? Maybe your own career, maybe watching a PV Sindhu, maybe watching a Mirabai Chanu, facilitating them grow as athletes and as people. What is that one lesson that you will share with this young audience that you learned from sport?
Yeah. I think I could summarize my learnings from 2 lessons that I learned from 2 legends in sport. The first legend is my boss at Olympic Gold Quest and one of the greatest legends of Indian sport, Prakash Padukone, who was the former world #1 in badminton and the founder of OGQ. I think from Prakash sir, I learn is never be satisfied. And no matter how good a training session is, no matter how good you do in the tournament, Prakash sir thinks that you can do better. And I think the reason, and so you saw him at very close quarters back in the 60s and 70s, I think one of the reasons why Prakash sir is regarded, even by Sunil Gavaskar, as one of the greatest legends of Indian sport is because he achieved and he became world #1 at a time when there was no precedent for an Indian to become world #1. Prakash sir did not have the best fancy facilities. He did not have a fancy gym. He did not have a coach. He did not have a physio, trainer, nutritionist. And yet, he became world number 1. Yet he won the All England Championship. And I've just seen he's never satisfied. So never be satisfied. And from another legend, the boxer MC Mary Kom, I've realized to never be scared. Mary is never scared of any opponent. She's never scared when she walks into the ring because she's so well prepared. And she believes deeply in her mind and in her heart that she will go into the ring and beat anybody. So never be satisfied and never be scared.
I just want to take liberty with you, Viren, and tell a little story about never being satisfied that I learned from Sachin Tendulkar. सब लोगों ने सुना है ना उनका नाम? Sachin Tendulkar? We've all heard his name, yes or no? Okay. So he told me this this story comes from my life and I'm going to take your time.
Would absolutely love to hear it.
Thank you. So I was interviewing him as a journalist. He was only about 20 years old. He'd scored 5 centuries. Does anyone know how many centuries he finished his cricketing career with? Anyone knows how many centuries, international 100 Sachin Tendulkar scored? किसी को पता है? कितने शतक जमाए थे सचिन तेंदुलकर ने? 100. करेक्ट आंसर. अब मेरे को मिलना, मैं एक टी शर्ट लेके दूंगा आपको. जिसने भी सही जवाब दिया, आई ओ यू अ टी शर्ट. ओके. नाउ ही वॉज ओनली 20. 500 बनाए थे. जब वो रिटायर हुए थे 100 शतक जमाए थे. When he came to Hyderabad, my hometown, and I was interviewing him in a stadium, Fateh Maidan. And he said 15 minutes का time है आपके पास, जो सवाल पूछना है पूछ लेना. And I was asking him some routine questions. 4th or 5th question I asked him, when you score 100, when you score a goal, what is the feeling on your mind? Are you happy or satisfied? आप खुश हो या संतुष्ट हो? This is simple question, I thought. For 3 minutes, Viren, he was quiet. He didn't say a word, and typically he was chewing his fingernails. You know how he does it. ये होता है कि if you go quiet, I sometimes supply a word or a chain of thought, and I'm asking you, what are you thinking? And I'm breaking your thought, and you're dragging you to tell me something. But उस दिन I also stayed quiet. And after 3 minutes, he looked up. I was standing, and he was sitting on an ice box. He looked up at me and said, I'm happy. I said, I'm happy, yaar. 3 minutes, sannata, and you're giving me 3 words. He said, no, sir, I was preparing the answer to your next question. 20-year-old boy telling me, मुझे पता है आप क्या सवाल पूछने वाले हो और आपके सवाल का जवाब बना रहा था मैं. I said, okay, great. Tell me what the question is and answer that question. तो he said, आप मेरे से पूछोगे मैं खुश क्यों हूँ और संतुष्ट क्यों नहीं? Why am I happy and not satisfied when I score 100? And he told me that 100 is a milestone. A goal is a milestone. India के लिए goal बनाना is a milestone. या goal रोकना, goalkeeper श्रीजेश, legend. Goal रोकना भी एक milestone होता है. 100 सबके नसीब में नहीं है. I cannot get 100 every time. Scoreboard shows 0 when I walk into bat. I have to score those 100 runs. Therefore I am happy. It's a milestone. मील का पत्थर है, पार करूँ तो खुश होता हूँ. आप पूछोगे why I am not satisfied? Prakash sir. He says satisfaction, then I'm forgetting that I played and missed a ball, beaten outside the off stump. या फिर किसी ने मेरा कैच छोड़ा है, I'm only 13 not out, किसी ने मेरा कैच छोड़ा है फिर 100 बनाया हूँ. या फिर शॉट बहुत दूर मारा हूँ, 2 रन लेने की जगह 1 ही रन ले आऊँ, लेजीनेस आ जाता है. I have not played the perfect innings. So how can I be satisfied? फिर उसके बाद वो बोलता है, this is the line that Prakash sir has given you in a different context. Then he says, satisfaction like the handbrake of the car. आप handbrake खींचो ऊपर और फिर गाड़ी गियर में डालो, कहीं नहीं जाएगी कार. It is a guru mantra that he offered me, 20-year-old, और कहानियाँ खत्म नहीं होती है. Some 25 years later, 25 years later, उनके 9600 हो गए थे. He got his 9600 in Delhi against West Indies. And the headline in the newspaper next day was, I am happy but not satisfied, Sachin. This is what made him a legend. He finished with 100. He wanted to improve every day. आप जो आज हो उससे बेहतर होना चाहिए कल. I think that is what sport teaches us. Thank you for reminding me of this story, Viren. Closing thoughts. Are we preparing athletes to be 360-degree athletes, or are we just making them machines to go out and get gold medals for India? इंडिया एज अ कंट्री हम तो मेडल 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 बोलते हैं. जैसे आपने पॉइंट आउट किया, देयर आर सो मेनी एथलीट्स हु फिनिश्ड 4th इन द ओलंपिक गेम, सो मेनी ऑफ देम हु केम top 8 had to endure disappointment. Some couple of hours ago, Nikat Zareen was here and she was talking about how nobody talked to her because she lost in the second round. She is a world champion, 2 बार world championship जीते हैं, nobody talks to her. Now, I just want to know, are we preparing those 360-degree athletes? How close are we to getting there, Viren?
No, I think we still have quite a fair distance to go in making athletes into 360-degree athletes. Just good human beings, good role models in society, good ambassadors for the nation. And you know, Nikat's point is great. When Neeraj Chopra wins, 10,000 people come to the airport. I would like to see what happens when Neeraj Chopra loses. And I think we need to celebrate our athletes, our sportspersons, no matter if they win or lose. I think it's the time when athletes need support the most is three times. When they are sick, when they are injured, and when they lose. I think if we want to become truly a sporting nation, we have to support our athletes during the hard times. And only then we will get much more 360-degree athletes, when they know that we as a sports-loving nation will have their back at all times, whether they win or whether they lose.
Thank you very much, Viren. That's a lovely note to end on. It reminds us that as a country, we have a responsibility to the athlete. Of course, as Prakash sir pointed out at the Olympic Games, the athletes also have to realize their responsibilities and deliver the best they can. But I think largely this country can be more responsible to the athletes, can react better to failure rather than start trolling them. Deepika Kumari was here some days ago and she talked about how, because she lost in the quarterfinals, people told her that ye hamesha harti hai. So she's a champion athlete. If you know Deepika Kumari, the archer, I have not known a better athlete than her. I have not known a more resilient athlete than her. I think as a nation, as Viren pointed out, we need to support our athletes a lot more. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience today, this evening. And thank you to the government of Uttarakhand for putting all this together. Thank you to Deepali Designs for getting all of us together on stage and to have this lovely conversation. We've spent the last couple of weeks, close to 50 conversations here. Legends of sport coming in and having conversations, sharing their deep insights. Truly grateful to both the Uttarakhand government, the organizing committee of the National Games, Deepali Designs, and a couple of people who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. Hemant Arora, for example, you would never have seen him on your cameras. You would never have seen him come on stage, but he's worked very, very hard. Hemant, very well done. Anisha Ghosh has been your MC for the longest time. She's been the heart and soul of where we are. Can I call the whole team on stage, please, and celebrate all of you? Then we will do the giving of the memento to Viren Raskina. This is one way of saying thank you to a team that has worked very hard. Hemant Arora, thank you so much. People who have manned the microphones and the lights and the cameras, thank you very much, guys. You have been brilliant. Normally हम लोग आप लोग को भूल जाते हैं, but तहे दिल से शुक्रिया for what you have done over the last 12-13 days. Fabulous work. Thank you so much to all of you as well.
It's very kind of G. Rajaraman to. All right, I think this calls for a bigger photo. And who better than Shri Viren Raskina to be amidst us for this group photo. Raj, you need to be there as well. You have moderated quite a few sessions, just like myself. Time now. to call on our colleagues to felicitate Mr. Viren Raskina, and Viren को सम्मानित करेंगे Miss Arpita Arya, who is a student from Sardar Bhagwan Singh University from Dehradun. तालियों के साथ स्वागत कीजिए अर्पिता का। देहरादून पे हो रहा है ऐतिहासिक मौली संवाद, तो ये नहीं हो सकता कि देहरादून की निवासी को हम भूल जाए। The 15-day conclave comes to an end. Arpita Arya of Sardar Bhagwan Singh University felicitating former India hockey captain, Olympian and Arjuna awardee Shri Viren Raskina. A big thanks to Viren for making time for this chat, and a big thank you once again to Shri G. Rajaraman. I think he's moderated a good half a dozen sessions at the very least. The count will be higher, definitely not lower than that. And of course, time now to call on stage Dr. Virendra Singh Rawat, Honorary PhD in Sports, Uttarakhand State Football Association Selector, Technical Advisor, informer national player, coach and Class 1 referee, National Masters Football Gold Medalist. Welcome sir, and मैं आपको माइक देना चाहूँगी, 2 शब्द अगर आप बोले।
थैंक यू सम्मानित करने के लिए, मंच पे बुलाने के लिए। मैं उत्तराखंड का हूँ और उत्तराखंड के कई बच्चे मुझे जानते हैं। बताइए कौन कौन जानता है मुझे? हाथ खड़ा कीजिए। जानते हैं? यस, वेरी गुड। पूरा जीवन स्पोर्ट्स के लिए समर्पित किया हुआ है और मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री श्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी जी का, कि जिनके द्वारा 30th नेशनल गेम्स यहाँ पर आयोजित हुए और बड़ा एक गोल्डन चांस आप सभी के लिए, गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ के लिए। मैं फुटबॉल कोच हूँ और ये कई 26 ईयर से गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ को प्रमोट कर रहा हूँ पूरे इंडिया लेवल पे, इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे। तो बड़े खुशी होती है कि इतना बड़ा जो 15 डेज़ का जो कंक्लूव हुआ, बहुत ही बेहतरीन आयोजन हुआ और इसमें काफ़ी कुछ सीखने को मिला। तो मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा पूरे उत्तराखंड सरकार को, जितने भी जो मैनेजमेंट के लोग हैं। और ये फर्स्ट टाइम हुआ तो एक मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। और पूरे उत्तराखंड में पूरे 8 जिलों में पूरा भ्रमण किया है, देखा है कहाँ पे क्या क्या हो रहा है। तो बहुत ही वर्ल्ड क्लास फैसिलिटीज़ उत्तराखंड सरकार के द्वारा दिया है। मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा IPS श्री अमित सिन्हा जी का, स्पोर्ट्स डायरेक्टर श्री प्रशांत आर्य जी का और पूरे मैनेजमेंट टीम का, कितना बेहतरीन आयोजन यहाँ पर खेल का हुआ है। और मैं रूरल एरिया के बच्चों को लेके आता हूँ, गर्ल्स और बच्चों को। मेरी देहरादून फुटबॉल अकेडमी, कभी भी किसी बच्चे को भी नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे जाना है तो मेरे से हेल्प ले सकता है। मैं प्रमोट कर रहा हूँ पूरे उत्तराखंड के लिए। सिर्फ लास्ट में इतना ही कहना चाहूँगा, बच्चों स्पोर्ट्स ज़रूर ज्वाइन करें, नशे से दूर रहें, नशे से हमेशा दूर रहें, स्पोर्ट्स को ज्वाइन करें। आपको दिखा रहा हूँ, आप मुझे देखिए, मैं 56 की एज है मेरी। मैं आज बिल्कुल वर्कआउट करता हूँ, टाइमली सोता हूँ। सोशल मीडिया से थोड़ा कम लीजिए, उसमें उसका यूज़ कीजिए पर जेन्युइन, जिससे आप सीखें। हेल्थी फूड खाइए। जब आप स्वस्थ रहेंगे, आपका माइंड अच्छा रहेगा, तभी आप आगे प्रोग्रेस करेंगे। तो मैं गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ को दोनों को कहना चाहूँगा, आज के दौर में गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ दोनों अच्छी स्ट्रॉन्ग बन रही हैं और देश का नाम रोशन कर रही हैं। तो मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद। जय उत्तराखंड, जय उत्तराखंड, जय पुष्कर सिंह धामी जी की जय, जय उत्तराखंड। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद श्री वीरेंद्र सिंह रावत का। He aptly summarized the ethos, the essence of the first ever Moli Samvad, and we cannot let go of the opportunity to honor another highly feted sports person we have amidst us, a former sports person in fact, who is now doing a lot of terrific work in the grassroots. I have the honor of calling on stage Mr. Abhijit Bhattacharya, former captain of the Indian men's volleyball team. Please तालियों के साथ स्वागत कीजिए श्री अभिजीत भट्टाचार्य का। A very warm welcome to you, sir. मुझे और आपको एक साथ फ्रेम में आने के लिए हमारे कैमरा पर्सन्स को बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. So if I can ask you to come in the center, please, and if you could share a few words, of your experience of being here, and also any message you want to give out to the youngsters, because it's the last day of the conclave, and it only makes sense for a former athlete who's now working as an administrator, as an inspiration for the next generation of athletes, to have the final word.
This was never expected. Thank you so much. मैं भी उत्तराखंड का ही एक प्लेयर था. जब उत्तराखंड स्टेट बना था 2000 में, तो उस समय वॉलीबॉल टीम को हम लोग रिप्रेजेंट करते थे. और थैंक यू, आज वापस आया और यहाँ पे आप लोग को देखा, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच सर। वन ऑफ द बेस्ट नेशनल गेम्स आप लोग ने ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया, काफ़ी अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट किया और बहुत सारे सम्मान दिया आप लोग को, प्लेयर्स को। सो सबसे बड़ी बात है, तो ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ एंटायर स्पोर्ट्स फेटर्निटी आप लोग सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much. And if I could request Shri Viren Raskina to kindly felicitate Abhijit Bhattacharya, former athletes both, former captains of their respective teams both, captain to captain, what a moment. Indian hockey, Indian football, Indian volleyball, and finally हॉकी हो गया, वॉलीबॉल हो गया, फुटबॉल क्यों पीछे रहे। तो श्री वीरेंद्र सिंह रावत का सम्मान करते के लिए मैं श्री वीरेन रास्कीना को निवेदन करूंगी। A big round of applause for Dr. Virendra Singh Rawat, who is doing a lot of great work in nurturing the upcoming generations of footballing talent in Uttarakhand. With that, if I could request all gentlemen to come forward for a group picture as we wind up this historic conclave. तालियां प्लीज बजाइए। Big thank you to everyone once again and सभी दर्शकों का मैं हार्दिक शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगी। आप सभी हमारे साथ 35 plus sessions के लिए जुड़े महाराणा प्रताप स्पोर्ट्स कॉलेज कैंपस में, and of course on the live stream of the official YouTube channel of the Uttarakhand 2025. And with this, to a raucous cheer from the audience here at the Maharana Pratap Sports College Complex, we announce the closing of the first ever Mauli Samvad National Sports Vision Conclave. A big thank you to Uttarakhand 2025 38th National Games and also to the Uttarakhand government, Shri Amit Sinha IPS, CEO of the 38th National Games, the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Shri Pushkar Singh Dhame ji, and of course to Dipali Designs and Exhibits for making this conclave happen, and to every single person, to every single speaker, to every single moderator who became part of this historic journey. आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। फिर मिलेंगे आपसे मौली संवाद के स्टेज में। Until then, goodbye and take care.